Hey YouTube, I'm Jeff.
And I'm Dana.
And this is Darkmoon Metals. In this video, we're going to be making an ammo can stove. Now these stoves have become relatively popular for outdoor winter camping. Let's take you through the steps of how we're going to put this one together. The client who ordered this stove wants to use a 4-inch diameter pipe for the smokestack. So we'll be cutting a slightly smaller 4-inch hole in the lid using the plasma cam probably tomorrow. The first thing I'm going to do, however, is make the metal collar that this is going to mate to on the lid. To make the collar for the stack, I'm going to be using 1/8 inch thick flat stock. Now to form this into a circle, what I'm going to do is shape it around the horn of the anvil. I'm not going to use any kind of forge or anything. I'm going to actually form this cold. Being that it is so thin, it should work relatively well into the shape that I want. So let's go get started. Right now I'm working on the collar for the smokestack, and as you can see I'm just basically forming it around the horn of the anvil, and I'm doing it cold because it is relatively thin metal, and I'm just going to keep on pounding on it until I get it into shape. Well, YouTube, that's a pretty good fit for the stovepipe collar. One of the things that I'm going to do, since I'm thinking about it, is remove this rubber gasket. Now this is going to have to come out anyway prior to cutting. Now, being that this was an old ammunition can, one of the primary things that this container was used for was keeping the ammunition dry. And this is a waterproof rubberized gasket that did a wonderful job. But if you're making this into a stove, you really want to remove it. You're going to be replacing this later on with what's called fire braid or fire rope. So I'm just going to sneak under the corner here at my little hook. Give it a pull, and it'll come right out. Okay, YouTube, I got my 4-inch hole cut out. Well, it's a little bit less than 4 inches. I think it's like 3.80 inches or something according to the computer. But yeah, I could have used a hole saw for this, but the plasma cam works just a hair better than a hole saw. And I mean, it went right through both layers, no distortion. It did a really good job. And the collar lines up pretty well too. So I'll get that welded onto place. You can already see I got that ground down, but that's going to take place tomorrow when I do the rest of the welding. I'm going to do everything at once as far as the welding. But yeah, so that's the final fit for the collar. It's not perfectly round, but then again, you know, it is hand hammered. Okay, YouTube, what I've done here is cut a small piece of my square stock. I drilled a hole through it. Now this is the same stuff that these legs are going to be seating into. So this is going to make a nice fit for my vise. Now the hole that's already drilled through is going to allow me to have a place for my oil to kind of reservoir a little bit, give it a little place to hang out. And it's also going to help me guide my drill bit straight through the round stock. what I'm doing here is I'm threading the holes that I drilled to accept an Allen head screw. Originally, what I had planned on doing was putting pegs in here and have the pegs serve the purpose of this screw. But I decided that if the pegs ever bent or broke for any reason, they would be a very difficult item to repair or replace. So if I leave the Allen heads on the screws, what I can do is actually just take them out and replace them if I have to. So that way in the future, if anything does break, it's easily replaceable. And we don't have to recreate the entire leg. I lost my regular tap wrench. I have no idea where that wandered off to, but I'm getting by just fine with the little adjustable I have here. Put this in here. And what I'll do later is come out with a die grinder and just trim the excess off the back. Okay, YouTube, what I've gone and done is cut a channel inside of my square stock that's actually going to be the housing for the legs. Now, this is probably going to get cut off right around here, and here's the leg assembly. Now, how this is going to work, the legs are going to be completely detachable, and that'll lock into place like that. So it's almost kind of like a bolt-action rifle. Okay, YouTube, some of you might not be convinced about my little bolt-action leg thing going on here, so what I did is I cut it to fit, and that doesn't seem to want to come out. I cut a channel in the other end because I'm going to have to make 4 anyway, and seems pretty stable to me. Okay, YouTube, I've got the frame for the door welded up, and I've got the door started. As you can see, it fits pretty much inside. There's going to be hinges over here. Now, I haven't installed the hinges, and I'm not going to install the latch for the door until we get the fire rope that goes around the inside of this, because the thickness of that rope is ultimately going to determine how the door closes and what type of a gap I need to leave in between the latch. I don't want to put the hinges on because I want the door to actually put pressure on the rope as it closes. And if I put the hinges on early and the rope's not as thick as I think it is, I'm not going to have a really good seal. Now, I made the door out of waffle plate. Now, this stuff has bumps similar to diamond plate, but it's a square pattern. For the air inlet, what I've done is basically just cut a handle. See if I can get it in frame here. This is a bolt that's going through the center of it. You've got a nut, 2 washers, and a spring in the middle, so you can actually adjust the tension on this guy. It's very similar to an early Weber design. Now on the back, it's basically a circle. You've got the holes cut out to match the holes that are drilled through the door. 2 square nuts and a small pin have been TIG welded, so it only allows it to travel so far. And as you can see, you can control your airflow pretty well with this thing. But you know, I haven't really seen a door like this put on an ammo can stove. It is kind of overkill. I mean, it's 3 times thicker than the ammo can itself, but I really didn't want this door to warp. I wanted these bumps to act like a heat sink. I wanted it to be overbuilt. because this ammo can stove is not only going to be used in the winter tents. The client is also talking about using this for heating his home in case of power failures by just sticking the smokestack up the flue of the house from his fireplace. So I really want to have this thing built well, and I want it to be as foolproof and as safe as possible. Okay, YouTube. So far you've seen the construction and manufacturing of the legs, and a lot of the other components such as the door, the collar for the stack, and a few other things. Now these are all the bits and pieces that I need to put this ammo can stove together. In the next video we're going to be running down the dry fit and all the welding to make the build complete. Now this build has been a collaboration in design between the client and myself, so these ideas are not all mine alone. The idea for the baffle, different things, how we're going to put the stack in, those I cannot take credit for. I'm basically doing it to the specifications of the client. But we did kind of agree that we wanted to do something original, something that really wasn't on YouTube before. There are several videos for ammo can stoves, and we wanted to do something that was just, you know, a little bit more suited to the client's needs rather than what's already out there. Now this is going to be a really cool stove when it's done, and I'm really looking forward to completing the video. But there will be a couple of weeks in between this and part 2. This isn't a rush job. He's not planning on using it for a while now, and I do have a lot of other things in the shop that I do plan on getting on film. So, the ammo can stove completion will be out by the end of December, but there should be 2 or 3 videos in between. And on that note, I'm going to be wrapping up this video. Tomorrow, Dana and I are headed to Vulcan Scrap Metal once again to see if we can find some material for our next project. And we'll see you then. So until then, this is Jeff at Darkmoon Metals. We'll see you again soon.